Good morning. I'm Laura Lohman with the Office of Finance and Operations and Division of District Support, and I'm the point of contact for Growth Factor and SAR. I'm going to just be going over some information on submitting Growth Factor this fall and some of the functionality within the SAR system. So Growth Factor is due to KDE after the last day of the second month of school, but no later than November 1. The purpose of growth factor is that program funding will increase when the average daily attendance for your district for the first 2 months is greater than the average daily attendance from the previous school year. So last year when you submitted growth factor, it served as a baseline for what we'll be comparing to this year. If your district does not have any growth, then there'll be no deduction in your funding. So this is only going to affect your district if there is growth. So growth factor is a subset of SAR. So the ethnic count does change to record 1 on the growth factor instead of record 5. And then the aggregate attendance and absence, that's going to be record 2 instead of 5. And then non-contract overage, underage, that's record 4 instead of record 9 on the SAR. And then your home hospital record stays the same and is still record H. The request new user tab, I got a lot of questions during this SAR about how to add new users. So this is the tab that you'll use to do that. You'll want to check your district users within the application each year to just confirm that they're correct. Or anytime you get like a new superintendent or finance officer or something like that, you can go into the system and request a new user. You'll just fill out the information, first name, last name, their email address, and then select if they're the superintendent, finance officer, or district user. And then once that, and then you'll just click the submit button. And once you do that, that's going to trigger an email to me, and I'll be able to get that person added, and they'll receive an email stating that they've been added to the SAR application and that they'll be able to log in using their Microsoft credentials. And just note that this is not something that is automatic. Like as soon as you hit submit, they don't automatically have access. I do have to go into the system and add them. So it does take me actually doing that before they have access. So sometimes it's a couple hours. This is going to be the district information tab, and it's going to provide basic district information that's pulled in from SHRM. If you have an address change or it is just incorrect, then you'll just want to email me and let me know, and I'll have to get that updated because it's not updating within the system. And then the users tab, this is going to be a list of all your users where you can go in and check and just confirm that they're correct. The superintendent is just the one who's going to have access to verify your final report. And then the finance officer, they have like view only rights. And your district user will be able to be the one who uploads the file and edits it. This would be like the DPP or any other staff who needs access to be able to do that. The communications activity tab. This is going to be all of the messages sent through the SAR application and KDE. Sometimes we do have to switch over and email you if we're sending like a screenshot or something, but we try to do a lot of the communicating through the SAR application now. And then the submissions tab, that's going to be all of your previous submissions. And then there's also a report managers tab there at the top of the screen, and using this tab is going to allow you to view all of your previous submitted reports for any school year and cycle. And then this information can also be accessed on the main home screen dashboard by clicking view reports. Data cleanup should be done prior to creating your growth factor file. And I'm not going to go into detail on each of these reports. You can run to check things like missing T codes or missing N statuses, schedule gaps, and stuff like that. You should be running each of these reports monthly for data accuracy purposes. And it's just important to make sure that you've checked all these reports prior to submitting your growth factor SAR. You can refer to the SAR guidance document that's on the KDE website, and it's also going to be linked at the end of my PowerPoint today. Just it breaks down each how to run each of these reports. The state enrollment overlap, that's probably one that we had the most issues with on the growth factor last year, just because we do have so many state enrollment overlaps those first 2 months of school. So that's one you'll want to make sure that you check before you submit your growth factor. This is creating your factor file. So the path for that is Kentucky State Reporting Growth Factor. You're going to run the state format fixed with for all schools, leave the date range blank, and then you'll select all types. So that R1 ethnic count, R2 aggregate attendance, the R4 non-contract overage underage, and then RH for home hospital. And you'll generate the report, and the file name's still going to be saved just like we've done in the past. And then you'll submit your file to the SAR application, and this PowerPoint slide links directly there. And then just be sure to run and save a PDF version of those files for yourself. Here's the SAR application home screen, and just a couple things about this. In the top right corner, you're going to see like your basic information, your login and your school district. And then there at the top, there's a home tab, the district information, and the reports managers tab. So that report managers tab is where you can go in and view all of your historical reports. And then whatever you're seeing there in the home screen that's highlighted in green is the report cycle that is active. So once we open the cycle for growth factor and you log in, you're going to see growth factor highlighted there in green, just like for when we just completed the SAR a couple weeks ago. And then just a reminder that we do still save the file name the same. So that's your 3 districts, your digit and district number, the 2-digit school year. So it would be like GF and then your 3 district digit number, and then 23. And then after you've submitted your file, your reports will be ready to view. So this is what that screen would look like at that point. The issues tab there is going to show you any errors that you have and if they need to be corrected. And most of you all probably know how to do that from the SAR, but you just go in and resolve it. If you know what's causing it, then you can correct it and resubmit, or you can put a note in, and we'll help you with trying to figure out what's causing the error. The details tab is going to show you detailed reports for all of the records submitted. And then that reports tab is going to be those downloadable like PDF copies of the report. And those are going to be always accessible there, and it's no longer sent through email like in the past. And then the messages tab is going to show you all of the messages between KDE and the district. And then you can view that status tracking tab to just show you where your submission is and what it's waiting on, and if there's anything you need to do on your end. This is the View Reports tab. So the Report Managers tab is going to show you all of those PDF reports. And from here, you can toggle into like growth factor, January growth factor, or SAR, and you can change the years to go back and look at your historical reports. This is also how you'll find your AADA from the previous year when you go to submit your SAR. you'll go into that to the SAR and just toggle back to the previous year. So this is a good functionality within the system. And all of the reports will have like a draft watermark on them until they're final and approved by KDE. So that's just something to note when you submit the growth factor and you're viewing those. They will still have that until final approval happens. This is just some resources. Last fall, I did a like a WebEx training for the entire growth factor process and how to use the application. So if you're new and want to go back and watch that, that's what that top link is. And then the guidance document for growth factor and SAR is linked there in that second link. That's going to be like all of the reports, how to run them, and how to, we'll walk you through the whole growth factor process. And then it'll also, that last link is just the growth factor website. And then just my contact information, and then also Rhonda Devine, who is kind of can serve as a backup if you can't get a hold of me. And I think that's it.
All right, we just have
questions.
The first one is, can you speak to virtual students and how that impacts growth?
I'm sorry, will you repeat that?
Sure. Can you
speak virtual students
and how that impacts growth?
Do you want me to answer that?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So virtual students are not seen on the growth factor because you don't get credit for the courses until they pass, and so that's at the end of the year. So if you have students in performance-based coursework or virtual, you're not going to see any of that on the growth factor.
All right. This one might be a carryover from the last conversation. We have to unenroll and then re-enroll for students that go into a behavior facility with educational services, correct? If not, it would show as an overlap on the Kentucky State Enrollment Overlap Report, right?
So it depends on where they're going. If they're going to a behavioral institution where there's something set up with the district where where the facility is located, then you could withdraw, and then that district would then pick it up, educate the child, and then when it's ready, when they're ready to go back, then they withdraw and they go back to their original district. If the facility does not have anything set up with the district where it's located, then you would put the student on home hospital, and you would not withdraw the student. You keep them enrolled, and you provide the home hospital through electronic means. You could even telephonically speak with the student as long as they get those 2 1-hour visits per 5 days while they're in that behavioral or that hospital that they're at. So it really depends on where they're going and if they have a contract with the district where it's located.